About 21 miles or 33 kilometers off the Brazilian coast appears to be a beautiful island in the Atlantic Ocean. This tropical island is named Queimada Grande, or more famously known as Snake Island. This island is known as Snake Island because of the insane amount of snakes that live on the island. Shocking, I know. The island is fairly small in size, just 106 acres, which is roughly the same size as Disney World's Magic Kingdom, or 80 football fields all lined together. On this island, there is roughly one snake for every square meter. This means that on average for every 2 steps you take, you'll be walking over a snake. If you zoom out to the entire island, there is said to be roughly 4,000 deadly snakes living on this very one island. These aren't just any kind of snakes though. The most common snake on this island is the golden lancehead vipers, and these snakes are extremely venomous. The golden lanceheads have killed just about anyone who has attempted to survive on the island. These lanceheads are in the top 10 for the deadliest snakes in the world and can only be found here on Snake Island. Their venom is strong enough to kill you in just an hour if the bite goes untreated, and the venom injected into your body would result in an extremely painful death. Because of how many of these deadly snakes live on the island, the Brazilian government has banned any travel to the island unless it is for research purposes. This decision was not only to preserve the snake population, but also to save human lives. But let's just say you, sitting in your room right now watching this video, unfortunately got teleported onto Snake Island. How would you survive? Is it even possible? Well, it has been done before, but the stories haven't always ended so well. In the late 1800s, Brazilian locals attempted to start a forest fire on the island to hopefully kill off all these snakes and turn the land into suitable for farming. Snake Island lies in a relatively tropical climate, however, where the island was covered in healthy rainforest trees and vegetation. Burning the entire island proved to be extremely difficult for these Brazilian locals as all the vegetation was living, so only a couple spots of the island were successfully burned. Parts of the island today that are mainly rock and don't have many trees are likely the spots where the fire was at least somewhat successful. Around this time is when sailors would randomly stumble across the island. Not knowing that there were thousands of poisonous snakes concentrated on this small island, the sailors would dock their boats along the rocky shore and attempt to stay on Snake Island overnight. Not many of the sailors would ever make it off the island alive though, as they were never welcomed very nicely by the lancehead vipers. For centuries, pirates, zoologists, and explorers would attempt to stay on the island, only to die thereafter, except for one group, the Brazilian military. In 1909, the Brazilian government had had enough with the horror stories coming from Snake Island. The Brazilian military constructed a lighthouse on top of the island and assigned a Brazilian man to be the lighthouse keeper on Snake Island. This man brought his family along with him to live in the lighthouse on the island. This man's job was to keep the lighthouse running and to warn sailors of the island's dangers. When the Brazilian military came back to the island to check on the lighthouse keeper and his family, the military found the man and his entire family all unfortunately dead. It is rumored that these snakes crawled through the windows of the lighthouse and killed the family in their sleep. However, the cause of the family's death was never verified. The Brazilian government thankfully didn't force another family to live in the lighthouse. Instead, their military makes annual trips to the island to check on the lighthouse. However, if you were put in the extremely unlucky situation where you became stranded on this island for whatever reason, here's a few options you would have to hopefully survive as long as possible. Your first option would be to try and escape back to the shore of Brazil. Now, this certainly wouldn't be easy given that you're 21 miles or 33 kilometers from the coast of Brazil. Your best option would be to try and get a hold of some wood on the island and then construct a makeshift boat out of the wood. The average human eye can only see 2.8 miles or 4.5 kilometers when looking out into the ocean, so you would probably have no idea which direction to start paddling in, given it would appear to be a never-ending ocean on all four sides. If you did happen to have any understanding as to where you were, you would want to paddle in the direction of where the sun is setting, which would be in the west because the coast of Brazil is to the west of Snake Island. There are a good amount of ships that sail near Snake Island, mainly coming from southern Africa to import materials into Brazil and the rest of South America. Getting seen by one of these ships while you're out on the ocean water definitely wouldn't be impossible. You would probably run into some rainstorms given Snake Island is in a tropical climate, but you probably wouldn't have to worry about the temperature ever getting too cold. But let's just say getting a hold of enough wood is too difficult, and even if you were able to gather some wood, you would have no idea how to construct the materials into a boat. Well, another option would be to survive in the lighthouse. Now this may seem kind of ironic given I just told a story about a man and his family who didn't survive for very long in the lighthouse, but this lighthouse is the only man-made structure on the island. In this lighthouse, you could find some shelter and hopefully a spot to get away from these snakes for a little while. If you're able to make it on the roof, this would be one of the best spots to try and alert any passing ships or planes, especially since this is a lighthouse and there is a massive light that can be seen far into the distance. You could try and somehow use this light to send SOS signals out into the distance with the hope of a nearby ship picking them up. If you want to go even one step further than this, there is a weather station next to this lighthouse. If you figured out a way to cause any irregularities to the weather recordings, such as hugging the thermometer to make the temperature seem exceptionally warm, this could trigger someone to start questioning what's happening on Snake Island, or even thinking maybe the weather station is broken. If the government thought the weather station was broken or at least wanted to send a team to check on it, you would hopefully then be rescued by the researchers coming out to the island. Lastly, if you decided you just wanted to try and survive on the island for as long as possible with the hopes that one day somebody sees you, finding food wouldn't be a massive issue. There are many bananas on the trees of Snake Island, but going into the forest isn't always a good idea. In the forest parts of the island is where the highest concentration of snakes lie. There's another story of a man who was out fishing, ended up getting lost, and then stumbled onto Snake Island. Not knowing that there were thousands of snakes on the island, this man supposedly went into the forest to look for food and then came across many bananas hanging from the trees. As the man went to pick the bananas, a snake fell from the same tree and bit the man. As he tried to run back to his boat, he was bitten numerous times because, well, one snake for every square meter will do that. This man didn't survive more than an hour due to the venom, and the Brazilian government ended up finding him dead in his boat when they visited the island for one of the routine lighthouse checks. Occasionally, there are other boats who will come to this island illegally with the intention of stealing some of the snakes. Since Snake Island is the only place on Earth with the golden lancehead vipers, these snakes can be sold individually for $10,000 to $30,000 US. Just bringing home 5 of these snakes, you could be walking away with well over $100,000 US. Now this is extremely illegal and dangerous considering you're dealing with venomous snakes, but some Brazilians will still take the risk to make money. What would be your way of making it off the island? Do you think you could survive? Make sure to subscribe and let me know down below.